What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Louis Q with Louis Auto Repairs. Yeah, don't worry about the t-shirt. I got new shirts coming. This is just an old shirt that I bought from my brother. However, we are here today working on a 2014 Nissan Murano and doing my research and just checking with a few people in regards to the procedure and how they got this alternator out of this vehicle. Just is wow. Like, some people just don't even really think or even get in there and really see what's going on. So I'm going to make a quick video in regards to how to get this thing out without having to waste excessive amount of money on coolant and refrigerant, because a lot of people in the research that I've basically looked up even beforehand, just to be on the correct path, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm going to show you the quick and easy method in regards to how to remove and replace an alternator out of this 2014 Nissan Murano. Stay tuned. Alrighty, so first and foremost, we are here with the brand new component that's getting ready to be installed. And then basically, again, everyone that looks into this thing tries to get this thing up and out from the top. Why? I do not understand. Because when you're looking at it, I mean, you have this grill that has to come off, and I saw this guy in this video, according to the book time, I mean, this thing is only about 3.5 hours, and you're definitely not going to get it from the top. I mean, you got all this stuff that's in the way. I saw some videos removing the radiator shroud. I saw some, just disassembly completely, front grill, all this stuff has to come off. Not necessarily. We're going to go ahead and take care of this thing right through the passenger side. Okay, passenger side wheel well. No, you don't have to remove the motor mount. I was thinking that when I first looked at this thing, and obviously, the alternator is right inside there. Can we see that there? Sorry, my lighting here is not so great, but we're gonna remove that here. So what you'll have to do is, honestly, guys, gals, it is not that difficult. What we're going to do, and I'm going to show you step by step, is we're going to remove the belt. Okay, so first off, that's your tensioner right there. Okay, once you remove the tensioner, all right, get that belt out of the way. Then we're going to take these bolts here that are holding the compressor. All right, 14mm bolts. You have 4 of them total. You have 2 on this side, and then you have 2 up down below. I'm going to show you how to get to those in a second. You're going to go ahead and remove this line. Okay, this is a coolant line. You're going to want to get that out the way. Maybe get this sensor out the way so it's not just hanging in there, and then you're going to want to remove this line. All right, so once you take care of, like I said, it's very simple. 3.5 hours. I'm pretty sure that's with you maybe going up top, or I don't know. I don't know. According to book time, and looking at some of the videos, these people were spending way more time than you needed. So again, tensioners here. We're going to go ahead and remove the serpentine belt. Once you remove the serpentine belt, we're going to go ahead and take the 4 bolts off the compressor. We're going to remove those. They're 14mm bolts. We're going to take care of removing that coolant line. We're going to take care of removing that cable. All right. I mean, this wire here, excuse me, for the oil pressure. Now, once we get all that out the way, we're going to drop the compressor down a few inches. Once it comes off the mounting point, we may or may not have to take this off. I'm going to double check on that to see. If we got to take this off, I'm going to show you exactly what to do there as well. However, you saw the alternator sitting up in there. Once we remove these components, I'm going to just slide it out from this side. Okay, so I'm going to show you step by step on how to get this done. All right, so again, with that being the tensioner right here, we're going to go ahead and move the tensioner. Right, I'm going to show you the direction. Okay, you're going to make sure that you have your ratchet, and you're going to go clockwise. So that just means you're going to go in a downward rotation. Okay, now if you want to take notice of something here quickly, all right, you have that hole right there, and when you actually ratchet going clockwise, they line up. So in order to line them up, obviously, again, just take your ratchet. You're going to go downward position. Okay, you're going to go down. You're going to see that when they line up, you're going to want to put a screw or something inside here. For me, I'm actually going to be using my punch. All right, I'm going to go ahead and lock it in place with the punch, and then that way you'll lock the actual tensioner. Excuse me. You'll lock the actual tensioner in place. Okay, and then that way you'll be able to get the belt off. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that a while, and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so not sure if you can see that, but I went ahead and took care of, like I said, rotating the ratchet downward, clockwise. Once I lined up the little holes there, I was able to put my punch there with no problem, and it locked it in place enough that now if you take a look, I always tell people, if you're not sure of the belt routing, make sure you take a before and after picture in regards to the belt routing. But you can see it goes under that pulley there, idler pulley, okay, then it goes over to the alternator, down around the AC, got a pulley here, down around the crank, tensioner, and then power steering pump. All right, so once you do that, you should have access to the belt, no tension. You can go ahead and just remove that and get that out the way. All right, and kind of tuck it up out of the way for now, just so that it doesn't affect anything else that you're about to do. All right, and just like that, serpentine belt's off. This tab right here for this sensor, these connectors are pretty easy to get off. Just squeeze that tab right there. Okay, I don't know if you see that tab right there. Squeeze that tab, just pull, and then we'll have all this pretty much out of the way, enough that we can get to that 14mm bolt sitting right there. And we're gonna have a second one right here, and then we will need to remove this pulley as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start on that. Once you get that bolt off, these two loose, this one here taken out, okay, 14mm on the top and bottom bolts, 10mm, and I believe this one is a 14 as well. We're gonna go ahead and verify that right now. Yes, all right, so if you take notice, it is a 13mm for that bolt. That way you can take this idler pulley, take that off, okay? These ones are gonna be 14mm, okay? Nice and snug, okay? 14mm for the compressor bolts, 13 for the idler, and 10 for this bracket, so that we can remove this line and get everything down and out the way. That way we can go up and focus on the alternator. All right. All right, so one thing's for sure, make sure you just don't yank on the wires. You can, obviously break the wire, break the connector. I got that from the back side here. The two tabs you see on this clip that goes right in, okay, to pull that out of that bracket. I just used a angled needle nose, and I got it from back underneath. It's just like this one right here. I'm going to use a different style. And forgive me, I'm using one hand while I try to hold the camera for us. Let's see if I can get that there. Once you squeeze that tab right there, you should be able to push it right through. See, it comes right out. Again, I apologize. I'm just using one hand here, trying to record and show y'all how we do this here. So I've got that out the way, got that out the way. Now we just got to take this bad boy out the way. Alright, so that one's out completely. I'm going to pull the top one out just a little bit, but I'm going to leave it in there. So that way, this one can actually hold the weight of the compressor. Let's get this one out of here as well. Let me switch out sockets. Back to the 13, which is what was causing the issue. Well, I couldn't get that out, but we should be good here. Alright. That all comes out in one unit, one piece. Okay. And then these things, obviously, you don't want to lose the bolt, so try to keep everything together with the way it comes, so you're not losing any material, any bolts. Alright, so as you see, we're getting just that much closer. I'm gonna leave this one here. Now I'm gonna go up underneath, remove this cover, just so I can get to 2 other bolts that hold onto the compressor, and then I'm going to look at what it's going to take to get the alternator bolts out, and then we're just going to fish this thing straight through here. All right, so with this bottom cover, there's just a few push pins. Okay, these puppies here, you can use a flathead screwdriver to get right in between, pry those out. Once you pry that out, they just basically slide right out. This one had a few missing, so I have a few extras. I'll go ahead and put that together for this customer. But if you take notice, now you have this bad boy here, which is held by this bracket. This coolant line still in the way, so we want to take this 10 mil bolt out. Once we take this bracket and this line, now that we freed it from the other side, we can go ahead and slide this down and over. Then it looks like we're gonna have a bolt here, 14 mil bolt here, and then let's see, there's another 14 mil bolt. Not sure if you guys can see that, probably not. Well, my finger's on it. There's another bolt right here. All right, so it's gonna be top, it's gonna be bottom. All right, there you go. So you got this bolt, take those 2 out. That's the compressor. We'll take those 2 out real quick, that way we can get some clearance, and then move the compressor down and out of the way, so then we can get to the bolts on the alternator. All right, now that this 10 millimeter nut is out the way, bolt is out the way, this has now got a lot of free space here. I got some movement to get in. I got my 3/8 ratchet, 14 millimeter socket. I got that there, cracked loose. To get the top one, just while I'm in here, I figured I'll let you know. I took my 6-inch, okay, longer extension, and I went up into this above the subframe here, and I was able to squeeze my hand in there enough, and I got some pretty big paws. I was able to get my hand in there, and I don't know if you can see that, probably not, but I was able to get in there, and now because I'm actually in there, I was able to get that loose from up top, and now it's just a matter of taking those bolts out. Once I take those bolts out, it'll be pretty much all downhill from here. All right, one thing I want to mention while trying to get this bottom bolt out, when you're ratcheting and you have that long extension, or you don't have the extension for the bottom one and you're trying to get that out, you want to be careful, because you can get yourself stuck between the compressor and the subframe. All right, you can get stuck between these two, and then you won't be able to reverse the ratchet to try and take it off. So what you want to invest in is the ratchet wrenches. These things come in handy. You can find them at Harbor Freight, anywhere between 20, 40 bucks on a set, and these things come in handy, so that way you can get up in there, you don't have to worry about anything, and you can still ratchet to get the bolt out. But if I would have had my ratchet, I wanted to show that to y'all, because I almost got stuck, and I wanted to make sure that you understood that you can definitely use the socket, the ratchet, to get that nut, to get that bolt loose, and then again use the ratchet wrenches that come in handy. You just put them on there, and you can just ratchet away and not have to worry about any clearance, any space issues, and then it comes right out. So, all right, so just wanted to give you that quick, because I came across it and I didn't want you to get stuck just like I did. So, all right, so now that we were able to take the 2 bolts, well, this one again, I got loose, got out. This 10 millimeter got loose, got out. Now you see we have all the clearance in the world. We got the connector, pigtail connector out the way, as well as this hose we got done and out the way, and we can then just kind of like move it out the way here. All right, this bolt is the last bolt that is basically holding the weight of the compressor, so we'll go ahead and see if we can remove that. And again, I'm only doing this with one hand. I'm trying to hold the camera and show y'all, but I'm gonna see if I can post this guy up here real quick. See if I can hold it there for a second, just so I can hold the weight of the compressor, so I can take the bolt out with no problems. Slide that out, and then she is free. You got that line out the way. Everything's out the way there. And now it's kind of out the way, sits in place. Now you have more clearance to get that out of your way. Now the only other thing, because of this line right here that's in your way, again, you can take this wheel weld, you can move it out your way, but now we're gonna have to take this line out, and this line has some clips right here that when we pry up, they basically can separate, so you can just pry up and get that out the way. And now that this bad boy's out the way, you are good to go. All right, so there was one important step I forgot to mention that definitely could be crucial, and I didn't really realize until I had the compressor out the way. This cable here, this wire, you definitely want to disconnect the compressor connector, get that out the way. And then this here is like right inside where the compressor sits, right here. Sits right inside here like that. All right, so I wanted to make sure I pull this out of the way. You see that there's two tabs there. Squeeze the tabs with a needle nose or a screwdriver, get that out the way. That way you have more slack, and you get this out the way. That way when you bring the actual compressor down, you can actually move the wire out of the way and not have to worry about the compressor actually touching or breaking that wire, which would be a big issue because obviously then you got to rewire it. But not a big deal, but big enough that if you didn't know what you were doing, you could definitely cause an issue, and then that would be a problem that obviously you would have to take to a local mechanic, or just, you know, find another DIY video in regards to fixing or repairing wires. So again, just want to disconnect the AC compressor as well as pull the wire from the bracket, so that way you have more slack. All right, so wiggle this alternator out completely. Basically, like I said, I just moved the compressor down as far as I could, releasing some of these clips or connectors. I would say you are going to need an angled needle nose pliers. That was definitely something that helped me with removing the connector to the alternator, because that was in a very tight position, and you know, you had to press on it from the outside, and then your 12mm nut that basically was accessible through the top. It was very difficult to get my hand in there, but I mean, initially with some extensions, I reached right down in there and I got my hand right on it, so I was able to get there with no problems. But then I had to use this side to kind of hold on to it while I was getting the connector and getting the 12mm bolt done and out the way. But as you see, with just quick disassembly, I'm not gonna lie, that one bolt specifically, the one nut to get this slide pin out for the bottom bolt of the alternator, was a bit of a challenge. I suggest and I highly recommend that you use the proper tools. Try not to strip that bolt out, because that bolt is not fun. It's the worst case scenario. I was even thinking about dropping the motor a little bit to get a gun on there. That's an option. You can always get to that motor mount right there, and then you can drop the motor a little bit if you need to. I did that. I did not. I got it right out. A little bit of wiggle, you know what I mean, just working with it, and she's out. So here's the new one, getting ready to go in. Basically got it off of Fisher's, part number 11341. Okay, not sure if you see that there. Get my camera to, there we go, 11341. All right, make sure they actually match, but we're gonna go ahead and pull that out. Make sure everything lines up. Okay, so we'll start off with the connector. We take notice, we put them on the same side. Obviously you have your mounting part for the slide pin, and then for the one that was like a 12mm as well, you have your 3-pin, all right, 3-pin connector, 3-pin connector. And then you want to make sure that obviously for that one particular nut is on the right side. So we are in good shape. Now it's time for the reassembly. We're going to go ahead and squeeze it back in, and then just everything that we did, guys, girls, people, everything we did in the beginning with, again, removing of the hose here, the coolant hose, got that out of the way. Got the 2 bolts here for the compressor. Once we got the 2 bolts for the compressor out the way, I took the connector for the oil pressure sending unit out the way. I took the idler pulley out the way. Don't forget, when doing the tensioner, all you had to do was, when you lock it in, you can use a screw, bolt of some sort. I used a punch. I'm over here drawing a blank. Got this line free and out the way. Okay. Once I got everything done and out the way, and I was able to get the compressor down, I didn't have to do anything else really. Just go from the top to get the top bolt, and then down here to get the bottom bolt, which was the slide pin. Again, you're gonna need some needle nose pliers, some PB blaster, and good luck. All right, new alternator is in. Make sure your serpentine belt is routed properly. Make sure you remove that lock pin, okay? Because I know we all had to do something to lock it in place. Mine was that punch. Make sure you remove that. Make sure your sensor is reconnected. Make sure your lines are good. Make sure your brackets are solid. Let's get underneath. Make sure your 10 mil bolt is in place. Your 2 14mm bolts. Alright, those are in place. Make sure you have your connector right there for your charging system, your alternator, bolted back down, and your clip, connector, and everything else looks good. Alright, here we go. Alright, now that the belt is back on, you want to make sure everything is in great shape. Belt routing is correct. You're ready to put the cover back on. You're ready to put the wheel back on, and you are all set to go. All right, so there you have it. Basically, the alternator is replaced on this Nissan Murano. If you guys have any questions, comments, you may go ahead and put that information down in the comments below. And if you are new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe, as this is a new channel for Luis Auto Repairs. I appreciate you hanging with me. Hopefully you learned something today. And yeah, time for a test drive. Until next time, like, subscribe, and you already know. Peace.